Well, I'll just have you introduce yourself first. Your name, your military affiliation, like your branch of service and how many years you did, your tribal affiliation, and then where you're from.
Wilduayu, Kanhara Dategu, Gitlaan Ara Tsimshian, Mistaksowoo. So what I just said was, my name is Will. I am Gitlaan of the Tsimshian Nation, and I am from Mistaksowoo, Alaska, and my family is originally from Mistaksowoo, British Columbia, Canada.
Awesome.
I am an Air Force Gulf War veteran, along with special duty assignment to the Pentagon, where I worked what's called special projects or joint service. So I got to learn how to speak Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, DoD civilian, civilian contractor, and civilian employees of the various branches. It sounds great, but it really gets tongue twisty after a while.
No doubt. And
I served from 86 to 95.
Wow.
So my name is Carla, and I am a 10-year Navy veteran. So 6 years active, 4 years in reserves.
Wow.
I'm an Oglala Sioux, and I'm from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. Love my people and proud to be.
Yeah.
And I am really thankful for this opportunity coming out of service to be able to talk about things that maybe nobody in society has really asked me.
My name is Brad Bomberry. I'm from Kirkland. I went to the preschool here at Daybreak Star. Been involved in the community quite a bit. But yeah, I served in the U.S. Air Force from 2019 through 2023. And in that, I was in the fuels management flight, so I did a lot of logistics stuff. But yeah, my tribal affiliation is I'm Upper Cayuga, a part of the Six Nations of the Grand River. It's in Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much who I am. I think I've been involved a lot with this program, and then just Daybreak Stars activities as much as I could.
What does being a Native veteran mean to you?
That's a hard one. So, because I went through multiple journeys on that question. What does it mean to me? I come from a family of longtime service members on both sides. The family that adopted me out after my mother passed was also, they were a Korean War veteran, but no one ever spoke positively about their time in the service. And when I enlisted, everyone like, yeah, right. So I was 120 pound soaking wet. And they're like, no, military is going to eat you up. But was kind of my only choice at that time. And as life has gone on and kind of being more comfortable with myself and being a veteran and being a Native veteran, allowed me to kind of meet others and learn from their stories, and especially those that served before I did, and what their challenges were, and then together be more comfortable with it and actually own it. And it is a badge of honor. It is a sense of pride. So today I get to work with other Native veterans and other veterans in general across the state and across the nation. And it's just, yeah, be proud of what you did, because we are the few.
I think it's always been, as someone in South Dakota, being Native or Indian, I was adopted off the reservation. So I was in an all white town. And so it was very much like I was very much the center of attention initially growing up in that town, until they figured out, okay, A, she's not going anywhere, and B, she's just like us. And mind you, that was like late 70s, early 80s, and we've come a long way since then. And so I've always been lucky because of our culture, and that I've always been raised to say, to know, even as a small child, that it's very important, and you should be very proud of who you are and where you come from and what you represent to this country, for yourself, for your family. And so I was so happy that my aunties and my cousins and everybody, we were all this collective community that were completely behind me. And I like to tell people that I had that, I had that armor on me, because what society might have characterized me, I didn't let them, just because of how they brought me up. And so to be Native to me is to be proud.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
What does being a Native veteran mean to you?
A lot. Yeah, I think I spoke a lot about the community here. I think that was a big contributing factor to even me serving, was being a part of Daybreak Star's preschool program, the ENAP program. Every year we put on a Native Veterans Powwow, and just as an able-bodied young person, I was like, I should probably serve. So that's what I ended up doing. My brother also served in the Army, and so that's why he told me to go to Air Force. Yeah,
right.
And you know how that goes. But yeah, I think that's it's a big part of, I think, as a Native person to serve.
Sure.
If you're able-bodied, and just to give back to the community that's given you so much.
I want to know what was home like for you when you joined?
So for me, home there in Metlakatla, Alaska, was small island community. I was the first member of my family with bleach blonde hair and blue eyes. My grandmother would always tell the story of when my mother came home, my grandfather just took one look at her and said, "You're pregnant and you're going to have a white raven." And she's like, "Yeah, right." No. 9 months later, here comes this white raven. And so everybody in the village knew me because I was the only one running around. So even to this day, when I say, "Oh, hi, yeah, it's Billy, Linda's boy," everyone goes back to 1968, 1969, and there's that little blonde hair, blue-eyed Indian running around the village, dragging his mom's purse.
Right.
So that's home.
Okay.
Huge family. My mother is one of 26 children.
Wow.
I have 83 first cousins. So home is family. Home is just, you're always welcome. And even after I came out, and while I was kind of struggling with that identity as well, it was my aunties like, "Get over it. We know, we don't care. Just be you." It's like, "Oh, okay." So when I returned home for the first time in years, after being all over the world and whatnot, my eldest auntie had a big old sign on her in her front yard on Front Street, "Welcome home, Billy and Carson." So myself and my partner, we walked the block.
Yeah.
By the time we got back to the house, everyone in the village knew that I was home.
Wow. What was home for you when you left for the military?
Wow. And that was such I in knowing that I was going to possibly be talking to you all, you revisit that time. And for me, that was 1990. And it was the beginnings of Desert Storm and all of that, just the unknowingness of what might happen. I was in health services. I was in the Navy, support fleet, but we didn't know where we were going to end up. And so amongst, the uncertainty and getting away from home, just being a South Dakota girl and, going to boot camp and everything. I think what happened again was that my community really, they wrote letters to me, as I was able to, lots of letters, and sent me packages, and every once in a while you were awarded the, being able to call for like 5 minutes or something. And I really held on to what were my roots. No matter where I am, my mother says, "We are still there with you. Your ancestors are, and we are too." And so just trying to establish and maintain that mindset. I'm like, okay, it's still that armor, still that you're going to be just fine, because no matter where you are, you still have where you came from with you.
Wow.
I was working in the ER at the time.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was at Overlake Hospital for a while, and then, so yeah, I was just ready for the next opportunity. So I didn't really think too much about like how I was at home. I was just more so like willing to like kind of experience something new.
Right.
I think a lot of people have spoken about that too. Just, they want to get away from home. I never been to the East Coast even, so I think just having the opportunity to do that is another reason why I enlisted.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was it like for you navigating, being Indigenous person, Native person, and, walking maybe in an environment like the military that maybe doesn't seem like those two would mix?
That for me was really difficult. It's growing up, my grandmother knowing that I could pass as white, always instilled in me that who I am Tsimshian. Never forget who your family is. Never forget where you come from. This doesn't mean anything. It's what's here. Going into the military, my first duty station was actually in Japan. Everyone in that division that I was assigned to was a person of color, except for one individual who was white. My supervisor and my division head both said, do not identify as Native. You will be crucified. If anything, because you can pass, just say you're white. That was soul crushing for me. But I watched how other people of color were treated, even within their own demographic. Wow, you're the whitest black man I ever met. Dude, don't you speak Spanish? Oh, so are you Chinese? And all the negativity from within their own branch of service, within their own division. It's like, I'm going to get eaten alive here. I'm going to hide. So I did. I hid who I was until a couple of years later, a young woman was assigned to the security police division. She's Native, didn't know anyone there, first time away from home, and she's sent to Japan. So when she was introduced, started talking with her, and it's like, she can't hide it. She looks stereotypical. And we became really close friends. When she met her then husband, same thing, we just kind of bonded over, and she reminded me of a friend of mine in high school in Eastern Washington who is Yakima, and introduced me to the Native students group there. And of course, all the other guys were like, he's not Indian. Look at him. He's got blue eyes. She's like, he's got more Indian in him than so all that. So having the strong Native woman really show what it means to be true to your own identity, no matter how you present. And so with her example, and also making sure she had support. So when the attacks came, there was someone there to have her back. And since then, going on, when I was deployed and moved to other duty stations, like when I got up there to Anchorage, like that's as close to home as I'm going to get.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm not hiding anymore. This is who I am. And meeting other Alaska Natives from around the state who were stationed there in the Anchorage area or live there in general, it's like, it felt like home again. So, and haven't hid since.
You talked about, like going off the basic, and then, the uncertainty there, I'm kind of thinking about that myself.
Yes.
It's like, what was that transformation like, going from, your home life and then into service? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yes. I mean, it's going to, although I was in a all-white town in South Dakota, I wasn't prepared for being in an all-white world, and it was like the movie Smoke Signals. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I was going on another country, another planet. Like, what is going on? So I was very discombobulated at first because their belief system was not in keeping with mine and ours, that we know of, and where their priorities were. And everybody in South Dakota, or at least where I grew up, we went into the military because we were steeped in community service. And so that was an extension of that. And, my whole community in South Dakota supported kids going there.
Right.
But you started to understand that perhaps other people had other reasons why they went into the military and tried to sully that experience for you, or for me rather. And so it was it was really eye-opening, and being so young, trying to understand and not forget about why I was there and the importance of what I was doing. And it's just it was just understanding, okay, I am who I am, but I also do have, I don't like the word assimilate because I don't feel like I assimilated,
Sure.
whether it be into the Caucasian world or into the military. But I understood that I had a job to do, and I could separate those things. I could say, I'm still who I am, but I'm also going to be dutiful and uphold to what my responsibilities are and why I'm there.
How did you navigate, like kind of walking in almost two worlds? You know, you said you had a job to do and to be dutiful, but you also, you joined because you felt this connection to serving your community. I guess, how was it, not just through, joining initially, but, as long as you were in throughout the rest of your service, walking those two worlds, but also feeling, for a lot of service members, you're also disconnected from geographically your community, right? So how did you handle that?
So I feel like, with my particular situation that I just described of just being raised just off of the reservation, I was already treated a little differently anyways by my cousins and everybody on the res, like that A word apple was used. And so I was already kind of bridging those two worlds anyways. So I think it really, at the time, it was very hard. I was, bullied, or, in my early years, eventually they came around to what I was telling you. But I think my auntie said, what, and I'm in the third grade crying. And she said, it's hard for you to balance both of this, being Native and being in a white world, but this is going to help you later on. And it did. So fast forward to being in the military and, still being a little shell shocked. I'm like, this is very similar to what, of what's happening, because it's not that I felt like I was any different or I felt this equal to everybody else, but the world didn't always feel that way about me, just by looking at me, or the fact that I was a woman, or maybe because I'm from South Dakota. There was all of these, labels they want to put on you because that makes them feel comfortable, or they want to put you in a box or into a group. And so I remember feeling like, okay, I'm going to work I work towards them better understanding who I am, and that I'm not a stereotype, and none of us are, and try to impart on them that if you give me a chance, I'm giving you a chance, to understand each other better. Because we had people also who, young ladies who were from abroad, they were immigrants and they were in the program as well. So I took it as a good response or a good opportunity, but I was well aware of just, how, they're just going to look at me and the frustration of they're going to try to decide who you are and treat you as such.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big thing too. Just being part of a Native person, you carry that warrior spirit with you to go through, anything. And that's kind of what helped guide me through most of my service, doing a job I didn't want to do because I didn't initially enlist for that job. Right. Just to get me through it. I would think about this place a lot, or like just, people that have probably been through a lot worse than I have. And that helped me kind of like power through all of it.
Now knowing what you know from your service, being out and having been out for many years and gone through so many experiences there after, what are some of the lessons that maybe you would share with, you before you joined, or even people that are, young people nowadays, right?
Yeah. That's a tough one, because when I separated, so I left the Pentagon, August 31st, 1995, 3:30 p.m. I walked out of the Pentagon for the last time. And 3:31, I was a civilian.
Right.
My command shut down, and I was caught in a loophole. I was at the end of my current enlistment, which meant, and because my command shut down, I couldn't get orders to another command or another duty station because I didn't have enough time on the current service books. And I couldn't re-enlist without orders to another duty station. So I sat on what they call admin hold for a month, trying to figure out, what do I do? Where do I go? sat in the office by myself playing solitaire for 8 hours a day. I showed up, I tapped my badge in, did the combo lock, played solitaire. Went to lunch, came back, played solitaire, went home. And then I get a phone call from the colonel. What do you want to do? It's like, I want a job. Like, I mean, I'm getting paid to play solitaire, but that seems wrong.
Right.
And in less than 2 weeks, I was walking out of civilian.
Wow.
So I didn't have time to really transition. It's like one day I'm speaking military, next day I'm speaking civilian. And so now I'm homeless because I lost my base housing. I'm unemployed. And I don't know what to do. I've got a 4-year-old child and I don't know what to do. There's no one there to provide that information. See what service members have now and working with some of their programs that are preparing them for when they transition into civilian life, so much more than what we had in the 90s.
Right.
But the big issue that I've noticed is even though they're getting ready to transition, they're still not, I've not seen or heard anyone share that emotional transition. The preparation going into a civilian company, and they don't want the soldier or the sailor or the Marine. And they want the employee who's going to stay within the box, which within the military, as you know, we do have our boxes.
Right.
But we're also trained to adapt.
Yeah.
But we adapt very differently than in the civilian world. So like when I had my first civilian job is don't be so rigid, relax. It's okay. You don't have to sit up so straight. And if you're a couple minutes late, you're not going to get docked. You know, I was got to be at my desk, computer turned on, answering the phone at whatever time. I don't clock out until that time. And everyone else was so not that way. I still was, aligning my gig line.
Right.
It's probably like, you need to mess it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part, was everything's much more relaxed in comparison. Same thing for the home life is, and that was one thing that I did when I came back from deployment was I'm home now.
Right.
I don't have to be up I still have to report for duty, but I reported my normal report time was much later. It's home. I have a newborn. I have to, situations are different. So when I left and when I try to tell young service members that are transitioning is there's a difference here. So just try to relax, take your time, allow space to do that adjustment and meet other veterans. Go to the different gatherings and talking and learning and listening to what they're going through. You might pick up something that'll help you on your pathway. And it's okay to share it. The days of, we don't talk about it. Those never existed to begin with, especially within tribal communities. It's okay. In fact, it's encouraged.
Right.
Talk to the elders. They're going to tell you. So it's that Euro-white Christian-centric construct that men must always be this, that, or the other. No. Because even history is showing us that that was never the case then. Why do we have to make it the case now?
Sure.
So share it, be open, be honest with yourself. If you're not sure, it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
We did it while we were in the service. Why do we stop when we become a civilian?
Right. What are kind of some of those lessons that you learned throughout the military that you would share with yourself?
Wow, that's a great question. Just like if I could talk to that person and or anybody that might be doing that, might be in a similar circumstance, is don't forget who you are. And sometimes you go in not knowing that, and I'm just doing what I did was staying in close contact with family. If you have a good relationship with them, not everybody does.
Right.
Some people do go into the military because they're running away from things. you know. And so if you do have that, whoever is important in your life, stay close with them, because it's easy to get busy and, you know, distracted and overwhelmed by the experience initially. I would have, you know, definitely done better by staying connected with local natives and wherever I was, you know, if I was able to do that. And to also just remember mental health resources, because I didn't do that. It was there, but I just, you know, I'm doing just fine. I'm fine. And I would impart that on anybody, you know, whether it was me back then or anybody starting now, because every once in a while we do have people during that we recognize who are entering into service. And so I do tell them that. Seek out people that you trust, you know, whether it be your fellow soldier or sailor or whomever, right. Who you feel close to and can be vulnerable with, but also, you know, really that professional help, right, is going to be so helpful. Just to talking about something that you might be frustrated about in the short term is so much easier than dealing with it years down the line. I
think everyone's experience in the military is it's like life-changing almost. Mm-hmm. I think it's that transformative part of your life that everyone always looks back on. Looking back on it now, I think there's not too many words of advice I'd give to myself. I think if someone's willing to, you know, make that sacrifice, is just like support their decision as much as they can while they're in, when they get out, just being a part of their life. Cause I feel like it's so easy for someone to enlist and then just like lose contact with everybody that they were within their home life, you know, cause you have your own life there. You like everything operates like on a base. You have all your needs pretty much there. So it's really easy to get disconnected. I think also my experiences have been a little different from most people. I enlisted, I trained for about like a year and a half before I joined for special warfare. So I was, as there was like a 1 year gap between my last job in the military where I was like running dirt roads and, you know, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, you know, like working out like a madman. And I kind of lost connection with a lot of people, just training like a madman just to get ready for it. Cause it's pretty competitive even just to get enlisted and get a contract to do that. But yeah, through that experience, it's been really hard too. Cause it was, I was like a super physical person, and that's actually how I ended up getting medically discharged was through an injury I sustained early in training. It was I don't know if you're familiar, they do some pretty heinous workouts. And I think the first block of training, it was like 6 hours a day. Wow. 3 2-hour workouts. And then that wasn't even on top of them just, you know, I guess smoking you for whatever they want. Right. But yeah, we were doing like an operator fitness test, and then I like pulled a muscle. They thought, but I felt like a lightning bolt go down my legs, and so yeah. Then once you get injured in that block of training, they get you a big like belt. I don't know if you're familiar with like the big you know, belt that you put on when it's like dark out or something like that. They had like a colored belt, and so that to indicate that I was injured and that I couldn't do certain things, and then. Like 2 or 3, it was like when I got injured, I couldn't even stand up the next morning. And they're like, "Oh, you must have really just pulled muscle." I was like, I guess. So I just continued training. 3 days later, they had their 18-hour training day. Yeah. Wow. So that was an experience. Towards the end of that, we did a really long workout. It was probably like 4 hours long. I don't know if you're familiar with like a burpee. Yeah. We did something similar to that for like 4 hours straight. Wow. Like 1,000 of them in a row. And then I was still, my back was injured. So I did 1,000 of those. And then, you know, I was like, okay, then this is not going to work out. So I waited until the last day of my waiver. Cause I knew if I quit when I was injured that they'd put me in med hold for like 2 years or like a year, however long they want. So I was just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And then they rolled me into another career field, but that injury never went away. So they rolled me into logistics. And logistics, I did fuel delivery. So I was pulling like an 80-pound hose off a truck every day. Oh, wow. And I did that probably like 1,000 times, I think, because they keep track of how many times you do it. Oh, okay. Yeah. And my wife, who I'd met, she was Navy. I was telling her, I was like, I don't know. I can't really stand on my feet anymore. I'm like, my feet are starting to go numb. She's like, go to medical right now.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have ever went.
Right.
I was like, oh, whatever. It just hurts, I guess. And I think that's a lot of, when you're in the military, you just kind of suck it up. There's a lot of injuries that you sustain that you just like, well, I don't want to, have my team get left behind from me being injured. Or there's a lot of, even when you're deployed, you're like a liability if you get injured. So a lot of people, they just kind of like, if they do get injured, they're just like, oh, I guess it's just a normal thing to do. But when they get out, then they want to like claim it, but they don't have any evidence of it. So I think if it wasn't for my wife telling me to go, I wouldn't have ever filed a claim or gotten medically discharged from that. So I think going through all of that, I think I just try to make the best of every situation I was in. So I think even through that negative experience, that it was a positive because of, being a better person from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you did decide to go, right, with the help of your wife, is there anything else that like assisted, maybe culturally wise or, spirituality wise?
Yeah, I think, speaking about that, I think that reinforced like maybe me not wanting to go. Cause like, I want to be like, I want to be strong. I want to be like the warrior. I want to be like the person that people can rely on, especially when you're in the military. So that almost, I wouldn't say went against it, but definitely embodying that, going through it. Because like going through being medically discharged is difficult too, because like it was like a year and a half of like all these different medical doctors telling me I'm fine. They're like, you're lying, you're just trying to get out of work. And like even going through that, like you have so much adversity to go through, like you're fighting your own people just to get your own benefit. And like all these people weren't believing me until it was like the final MRI. And that's the thing too, like if I wasn't medically inclined, because I was in the medical field before, I wouldn't have known what scan I need, what medical treatment I need. I was like, I just need an MRI so it can show what's wrong with my back.
Right.
And to get to that point, it was like a year and a half of like PT. They did shots in my spine. They did all sorts of, they said they had to exhaust every medical treatment that they could give me while I was in, until they would give me an MRI to show what was actually wrong. Yeah. So it was, I think just, it's a big thing too. Just being part of a Native person, you carry that warrior spirit with you to go through, anything. And that's kind of what helped guide me through most of my service, doing a job I didn't want to do because I didn't initially enlist for that job. Right. Just to get me through it. I would think about this place a lot, or like just, people that have probably been through a lot worse than I have. And that helped me, kind of like power through all of it.
I'm curious to know, what was it like once you were coming out of the service? Was there anything specifically that, stood out to you in your return to community? Was it, moving back home, or was it working within your community, or getting back involved with like ceremonies like that?
Yeah. I went when I was stationed I went from San Diego to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So indigenous people, I was really loved it. My hair was growing long, and I was just having the best time because the sun and people who were facing what we were about in colonization and the frustrations of all of that. And then I moved to Guam. I was stationed out there. So again, kind of the same thing, the Chamorro people. So although it wasn't my culture, I still felt like we were one of the same. Sure. And so although I wasn't practicing my own culture, I still felt close to the earth and to what our plight was, and to people just like myself, and we were in community together and with their culture. And again, we had that interplay of like, I was teaching them about my culture, they were teaching me about theirs, and like people that look like me, which was so happy. I was so happy for, wow, and so then coming out of the military, I had some service members I worked with who were from the Pacific Northwest. So I actually came up here after that, because everyone said, because I knew I wasn't going back to South Dakota because it's not as many opportunities. That will always be my home. But it's interesting how you grow up, and that was my home, and that was really my connection to being what home is, even throughout the military, until I got out. and I came up here. And then I started learning about all the tribes up here. And it was a different experience for me, whereas being in South Dakota, we, the general public didn't really embrace us. And I felt embraced up here. I don't know if everyone felt this way, but I felt like there was more of a willingness and wantingness to understand and support the tribes out here. And I was telling everybody back home, like, oh my God, it's so different out here, and I just loved the beauty of the region. And yeah, all my friends who are up here, they said, you're going to want to come up here with us. And this is where I went and completed my reservist duty, just out of Bangor. And so it was beautiful going out there and doing all of that. And I really felt very proud of myself, in coming out of the military when this became my home.
Sure.
And understanding and realizing, what, I still kept to being proud of being who I was,
right.
No matter what happened, no matter what came at me or what anybody might have said about who I was.
Yeah.
I was very proud of myself, but also my community who kept that in me. And I don't know if you felt the same way coming out of it.
Yeah. For me, being connected, I almost attribute, me pre-serving and then, while I was serving, almost a disconnection, right, to my community and my culture. And then, this, I had a certain level of, understanding from my upbringing and, stuff like that I carried with me through my service, but definitely a disconnection. And so when I got out, it was reconnecting. And I think, culturally, community-wise, some of the best times that I've had, right, is through coming out of my service and then reconnecting with my community. When you talk about, the importance of sharing, and sharing, the things that happen to you, or, just asking for help. For a lot of veterans, there's things that they exit service with, right? Whether it's, impactful of their physical or their mental health. How would you describe your process through, being homeless or, not having a job and, being abruptly out of the military and, also managing some of these things?
Just thinking back again, because I out-processed so quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job to do. So I literally out-processed from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Right.
I just went from one thing to the next. I was actually standing there while they were typing up my DD-214.
Wow.
So I have the original copy because they literally just handed it to me. So like I said, I went through a unique situation that I've yet to hear anyone else go through other than someone who may have been dishonorably discharged or incarcerated for some other reason. So like when I went and got my physical, everything got signed off. They said, well, look, you're in perfect health. You don't qualify for VA healthcare benefits. Oh, okay. Oh, you've got this, that, and the other. You don't qualify for any VA benefits. Like, wait, what? Well, yeah, because you have, everything checks off good. So you don't qualify it because you don't need it. So for 20 years, thinking I don't qualify because that's what they told me. So I never applied. And then when I found out it was all BS and I did apply, it took 19 years. Because this is all before things were done on the computer.
Oh, right.
So fill out your form, mail it in, and you wait. Or fax it in, and you wait. So December 28th, 2023. So just not even 3 years ago, I had my first appointment at the VA hospital.
Wow.
From separating September 1995.
Wow.
And eventually was given 30% disability.
Right.
So they're still evaluating more stuff. So it potentially might be larger. But again, I went through a very unique thing where because they said this, I believed it. They're not going to lie to me. And come to that even their information was inaccurate, even for that time.
Sure.
And so what I try to encourage folks now, and even meeting specifically Native veterans who have never applied because, oh, I don't live anywhere near a VA hospital. Like, apply anyways. They'll pay for travel, or they'll reimburse for travel, they'll do that. And talking with some elders in the community where I live, they're like, wait, what? So they applied, they got 100%.
Wow.
Like within a matter of weeks. I'm like, I waited how many years for 30? Had a triple bypass done at the VA, fully covered.
Wow.
And then when we learned about the additional no co-pays for Native veterans,
Right.
got them the form, they made copies and mailed it back to their community in Montana and told them, like, every single one of you fill these out
That's amazing.
and get them in. And then they all got reimbursements for the last so many years of all the co-pays that they had been paying, not knowing that they didn't have to,
Wow.
all because of one piece of paper.
Right.
So it's things like that when I hear those and get to share that information with other Native veterans, and specifically our elders living in these remote areas, and that sigh of relief, like, because many of them, they'll get their health care at the local tribal clinic, but then they get invoiced.
Right.
And then come to find out that should never have happened to begin with
Right.
because of a coding error, or they put a 2 instead of a 3 or whatever it was. And then to find out the co-pays, and then they get that reimbursement check, and it's like, oh. But then the anger hits in. Why didn't you know this? Well, they don't advertise this.
Right.
We learned the hard way. But still, it's just things like that. It's like, it's kind of helps with it.
Now that you're out, how was that process of transitioning from being in service and then reconnecting with, the community and the culture, and just coming back home?
Yeah, it was a big shock. I think just being a able-bodied person and then coming back and not being one, that was in itself an experience. And I know a lot of veterans go through that. They're at their prime of their life. They're super fit, and like one thing happens, and then they're like disabled essentially. And I think that experience is very unique to the military, because you're doing a lot of the stuff that OSHA or like some sort of like regular working body would never approve of you to work like 18-hour days, like 16 hours at a time. People just forget about you, and like no regular workplace would be like that. And the military kind of has that to where it's like normal to do that and to put yourself in a position to be injured permanently. So I think, it's been pretty hard. I think just because I was like, I was thinking initially, I was like, I just come back and be a firefighter or whatever, because I have medical experience. And then I was like, I can't do that now. My plan completely changed. I have to like get a desk job. And I think just that transition has been a little rough, but Daybreak's definitely been helpful in getting me reconnected to just the services and like being part of the community. I think is the big thing that they've helped.
Awesome. It's dual, right, for you, because not only are you a Native, but you're also a woman in this kind of like, I guess, traditionally, very masculine industry, right? As of the military, I know that a lot of in a lot of the veteran honorings, I think we're getting better now, but a lot of it initially focuses in on and knows the stereotype of a veteran being a man, right? And we're trying to be more encompassing. We're trying to honor the service of all our people, right? Not just, men, women, but, our two-spirit and so on and so forth. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And one thing to add to that is just that during that time, I was going in, historically, it was a time of the tailhook scandal in the Navy. For if you don't know what it is, it was related to Navy officers who were pilots and their female colleagues, and there was an abuse scandal going on during that time. And tailhook meaning, the tailhook that catches a jet when it comes back onto a carrier, and so there got to be this greater the Navy was under scrutiny for how they treated women. So it was an interesting time to see how they were changing from when I got in to when I got out to how they treated me. Like, oh, well, I guess we have to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
We have to respect you. And it really was. I'm glad you put that. You reminded me of that, because it really was. It was tough as a woman.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a friend recently about, I loved the time when I was in boot camp, the later weeks of boot camp, and when we were with our male counterparts, and we were all doing our PT, and I was able to run with the guys, and keep up with them. And somehow that I earned their respect that way. And so they treated me differently just because of that. All those little things where they like, okay, you're just like us.
Wow. And things are always changing, in the military. I feel like just regardless of when or what time you serve, I think that's one thing that so many of us experience. It's like, it's an ever-changing environment.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that ability to adapt is really key, right?
Mm-hmm. Did you have that? Were you able to adapt?
A fair amount, I mean, it's always, it's ever changing. There's so many different things, right? I mean, we talk about like your treatment as a woman. I mean, I had my experiences of just being a Native person. And much like you, like a lot of these people that I would meet, I was the first Native person that they'd ever met. And, while I was serving, I was going through the process of getting my spiritual accommodation for my hair, to grow my hair long. Right. And so that was a new thing, for being a man and adhering to these grooming standards. And then, people seeing my hair long, and then, immediately getting spot checked. Hey, who let you grow your hair out that long, and then I have to explain, no, I'm indigenous. This is part of our spirituality, and explain the importance thereof. And, and just kind of like being able to be in that space. I think it comes with a lot of more, knowing yourself, and an opportunity to speak on who you are to others. Right. And I also see that, not everybody wants to be a teacher, right? Because by placing, the burden of explaining ourselves to others, I mean, it is a burden, right? I mean, there's an ignorance there of, we've been here. Us Native people, we've been on this continent since time immemorial. There's been more than enough opportunity for who are here now to take some of that burden and learn a little bit more about our cultures.
Yes. And we hear, from our African-American Black brothers and sisters, like, it's not our job to teach you. Right. So I vacillate between that sometimes. When I was early, I was younger, I was very like, let me teach you. But I can resonate with that. And also the issue with hair, because I couldn't get there was no such thing as getting an accommodation. So your hair was cut into a bob or shorter.
Right.
And I remember, thank you for reminding me, maybe I blocked it out, but it was very, it was, that left a mark on me, the act of them doing it. And, and you always had it long, and you didn't realize how important it was, or at least I didn't until it was taken away, because everything was so happening at the same time.
Right.
And it was very frustrating for me as part of that assimilation.
Right.
Like, they just take that, they try to, strip you down.
Absolutely.
And so that was a troublesome time, just having to get used to that.
Yeah.
Because they said, oh, it grows back. It's like, it's not about that. It's not about that. So, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I guess this kind of thing is, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ask. Reach out to your community. Talk with family and friends. If there's no one there that truly understands, guarantee someone is going to know someone. And be open to it, because you never know. You might actually be there to help someone else.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think we covered most of it. I think hopefully a lot of other veterans can, understand that they're not the only ones going through this, that there's a lot of people, even young people like myself, that have gone through things that have resulted in permanent injury, and just to know that they're not alone and there's people there that they're willing to help them. I was fortunate enough to have my wife, but there's other people that don't have that, and this community can definitely help give them what they need to feel supported, because like going through any sort of veteran service is or any benefits, it's pretty hard, and I think it's by design almost by the VA, or maybe not the VA, but like just the structure of it is they make it seems like purposely like a maze almost. But I think people here are definitely here, know that, and they're willing to help. So anybody who needs help shouldn't feel ashamed or anything to come to Daybreak and get the help they need.
Right. It's hard enough for people who don't have disabilities to interact with that system, to, go and seek benefits, the benefits that are promised to them. Right. But then you throw in those disabilities and it becomes even more unmanageable for the veteran alone to navigate. Right. Yeah. And I know that Daybreak does have this Native Veterans pilot program. So they act as almost case managers and resource connections in order to help those veterans. So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing back that time for me.
Yeah.
It's been so long. And like I said, earlier, nobody's really talks to you about it. You get that thank you for your service thing, but for somebody to really ask more than that. And so it was a real gift today. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.